Some pages of Night Owl BBS provided courtesy and very kindly by Brian Martin. Night Owl BBS is online right now and can be accessed by the details on screen right now, including at nightowlbbs.ddns.net on port 6400. Good evening, this is youtube.com/Wi-Fi sheep. The time has just gone 8:05, that's 20:05 hours GMT +1. Hello, good evening, and a very warm welcome to youtube.com/Wi-Fi sheep. It's 8 till late live with me, Tom, and this episode 19 of season 3 of our 8 till 8 live stream right here on the channel. Thank you so much for joining me this evening, and a very good evening to you. I hope you're doing well. A little bit to do this evening. Fair few things I want to try and get through. A little bit of news. We'll see where we get to. Hopefully things will be a little bit better than they were last week. Last week it was the most frustrating live stream I've done in some time. We seemed to achieve absolutely nothing, and absolutely nothing worked. So thank you very much for all of you that stuck with me last week for that. I wanted to make a cup of tea before we started this evening. That's why we were 5 minutes late, because I was like, no, I'm boiling the kettle. If I'm going to do this, I'm boiling the kettle. So it's the 24th of May 2025, as I said, episode 19 of season 3 right here. We are going to be calling it a day for this season of 8 till 8 next week. So that'll be May the 31st from 2000 hours GMT +1. And we'll call it wraps for this season of the live stream. So I hope you'll join me next week for that. Before we continue this week, as always, we need to say a huge thank you to our YouTube and Patreon channel members. There they all are on the screen right now. Thank you so much to each and every one of them that continue on a month-by-month basis to support me and the work that I do right here on youtube.com/Wi-Fi sheep. You can join on Patreon. It's patreon.com/Wi-Fi sheep, or alternatively, right here on YouTube, you can just click the join button. It's below this video, or the link you'll find in the description, and that will be across all channel videos right here. Base support starts from 99 pence all the way up to 2.99. That's British pound sterling, and that will be converted into your local currency. And if it can't, you'll probably see it in US dollars. Another reminder of the show dates. So coming up very shortly, so it's the weekend after we finish for season 3 here on 8 till 8. It's the Econet LAN party at the National Museum of Computing, Bletchley Park. That'll be on Saturday the 7th of June, Sunday the 8th of June 2025. I'm going to be there both days. I haven't checked what the ticket availability is recently. It might have sold out, but if it hasn't sold out, I'd go and grab tickets for that if you're intending of coming along. It'll be great to see you. A bit later on in the year, I'll be at the Retro Computer Festival, Retro Fest, and that's in Cambridge. And that will be on the 15th of November and 16th of November 2025. Centre for Computing History, Cambridge, UK. Great event. And if you can get along to that, again, thank you for supporting it. And it'll be brilliant to see you. So as we have a quick look in the chat, who have we got? So Martin Parker, George. I'll come back to George in a minute. And Brian saying good evening. George, is it worth a rewatch? Just I missed it. What, last week? No, it's not. It really wasn't. Nothing worked. I stupidly said, let's do something different. That was a mistake. No, nothing worked last week. It does. So just to recap on last week before we carry on this evening. Those of you that were watching or have seen it will remember that one of the things we tried to get 2 boards working. One of them was the Yugi 2R1 that wouldn't reflash a version of Armbian Linux, which was highly frustrating. And then we tried to see if we could get, I think it was CPM we're trying to get CPM running on the I forgot what it's called now. What's the Onimex board called? Agon Lite. This one. This one here, which you've probably seen on show. This is the 8-bit single board computer that runs on a proper Zilog or Zlog Z80 or Z80, and is attached has a video out via ESP32, and it runs BBC Basic, be it a Z80 port of BBC Basic, and it was sort of touted by its creator. Excuse me, there's cables all over the floor. It was touted by its creator as, you know, the wonder 8-bit computer, and quite an aggressive campaign for this, based around attacking other similar projects, which, whether you agreed with those other projects or not, I don't think it was clever or clean marketing to just attack other people. And then when we actually get the board, this is the board created from Onimex. Yeah, it wasn't as great as I thought it was going to be, and we've had some issues with it, so not been overly impressed, I have to say. It's probably quite capable, but trying to get it to work is, quite frankly, a real bugger. So yeah, so that's as far as we got last week. We're not doing that this week because we've got some other stuff to be getting on with, but it did get me thinking about a lot of this sort of 8-bit platforms or sort of homebrew computer projects, because there's a fair few of them still knocking around. Including, I should probably say, my own, the Tiny Basic Computers Project Rio system, which we ended up kind of just looking at again briefly at the end of last week, just out of sheer frustration. So I was like, nothing's running. Let's just look at my things. At least my thing kind of works. And that kind of got me thinking that, okay, my system isn't perfect. And if you compared it to the Agon Lite, and if you could compare it to the Commander X16 from Dave Murray, the 8-bit guy, and there's a couple of others out there as well. Mine's probably one of the poorest, underdog, weakest, low-powerest project of them all. But the difference with mine is that I kind of see it as an entry-level kit. So, one, I see it as a kit, not a full-blown production product. So, the whole point of it is you put it together, if you know what I mean. And also, it runs basic, and I want the basic to work. But I also want it to have enough RAM that you can write inefficient, sloppy code and still get something to work. So it's a bit like, I suppose I see my project more like if you've ever done an Airfix model kit or, Lego plastic construction kits, kind of in that vein, kind of like or chemistry set type thing. It's sort of, it's not quite my first computer, but I want something that sort of is going to be the first thing that maybe some people have ever built or tried to solder together. It's quite, you can bring all these parts together, put them together, and then it lights up. You put 5 volts through it, it lights up, it runs basic, and then there's online tutorials or instructions of just how to program. A bit like how the original course material for BBC Micro was. About, right, you bought this computer, now this is how you program it. And that's kind of the ethos of what I want to do. So I'm not trying to run... With my system, I'm not trying to run versions of CPM or, or trying to emulate or recreate the Commodore platforms or things like that. So, yeah, I was just thinking about this earlier today, and I was like, I'm in a different place. I do need to get that project into some sort of further along than where it is. You can still watch the Tiny Basic Computers series. Its playlist is right here on YouTube on Wi-Fi Sheep. Alternatively, Project Rio, which is the next one along. It's the same ethos, it's just slightly more power. That's a system that, well, actually both systems you can build just out of bits. At the moment, it's sort of scrabble parts together yourself, and you can download. There's Tiny Basic Computers is more or less free. Project Rio is sort of paywalled for a couple of reasons under my Patreon at the moment. That's because I'm using a little bit of someone else's code that's licensed, so I can't do a total can't do a total free-for-all. Saying that, the source code is now, it's not officially open source, but the source code, both the C and the basic for basic programs, is actually available, and so you can actually look at that. And if you are a Patreon on the Project Rio tier, then you can now see everything. So we're getting there slowly, and I do need to get back to that. But yeah, so that was just a sort of an offshoot from last week. And this damn thing, which yeah. Anyway, before we move on, then, so little bit of news. If anyone is even remotely interested in my domestic life, but I very much doubt anyone is, and I do hate talking about myself. But for those of you that know that I've been attempting to buy a house, and that sale fell through, so we didn't buy the house. We put an offer in 2 days ago, and yesterday we had an offer accepted on another house, which I actually think is a little bit better, a bit nicer than the one we were originally going to buy. So looks like we're hopefully, I don't want to jinx it because we've still got to get through all the legal stuff again, but hopefully we might be on the move again, which will be good. Which then does bring me a little bit full circle between, again, what's happening here at Wi-Fi Sheep. So we'll be moving, obviously. Another reason for not doing the live stream over the summer, because many of you want to be, I mean, it's light, you can tell. It's light outside. So many people are out on Saturday, Sunday evening. Excuse me. Lighter evenings, there's more stuff to be doing. Warmer evenings. So that's the reason kind of why we generally don't run the live stream over the summer anyway. Now, normally what happens is I'm kind of back by the end of November. So we break for the summer and we come back at the end of November. I'll be very honest with you. I don't know if that's going to happen, because I don't know if that'll be from here or if it's going to be from where we move to. So realistically, we might be back in January, I think, in all honesty. But what I might do is I may do, as I always do, a Christmas and New Year special. And we might do a live stream just ahead, if I just go back to show dates for you, just ahead of Cambridge. So Saturday the 15th, Sunday the 16th November, just ahead of Cambridge Retro Festival. We might do like a sort of a pre-exhibition thing, just with sort of what I've got going on, etc. So that's kind of the plan. Obviously, there will still be content, pre-record edited content dropping on the channels. I am behind on all my editing. The amount of stuff I've shot, and I've just not edited anything, which is why no new videos have gone up. So just because of work, I'm being very tired and a lot on. So that's kind of why that's happened, but I am ahead of it. So so just in the chat here, George, congratulations on new place. It can be exciting. I hope so. We've been kind of through the works on this, so it's yeah. And are any of the events being live streamed? Very good question. So I don't know is the honest answer to that. I don't know. I haven't. I'm reluctant to say that I'll do it. I could do it because I have live streamed from events before. The problem is it always tends to be a little bit cat-handed. So those of you that might remember the impromptu live streams online, if I'm formally live streaming, so you might remember, oh, this was before COVID, so this was literally 2019, and I did. Oh, you mean officially? Officially, I have no idea. No, I don't. They might do some recordings. I will do some recordings. The last, I said, just to finish what I was saying, the last time I was officially the broadcaster, if you like, or the streamer for an event was when we did the Risk West Southwest show from Bristol. You might remember that. But we're able to bring you to the show floor, and I was set up in a sort of conservatory building, you might remember, and I had interviews with people, but we weren't able to stream any of the actual like talks and stuff. Cheers, George. So that was when last time I was officially live streaming. Then I've done a couple of like live streaming on my phone from Cambridge. You might remember that. Which sort of worked, sort of didn't work, and I've got a lot of flack for those. So I don't know. The problem is if I do it unofficially at shows and I say, right, I'm going to live stream at 11 and I'm exhibiting, I don't hit the targets and time just catches away from me, or we don't get the connectivity. So Generally speaking, I don't tend to live stream. I've not been asked to live stream. But I mean, I'm going to be there and I'll probably do some recording. So I'll record the event for Prosperity. But no, as far as I'm aware at the moment, there's no plans to live stream. But watch this space, because both museums are running their respective events. So I could well imagine it's up to the National Museum of Computing what they want to do. And obviously Cambridge as well, Centre for Human History. It would be nice. I have thought about the idea of just like setting up a camera. So even if I'm not doing like a formal presentation video like this, because it's quite a lot of work. It's quite a lot of work to live stream and also like enjoy your day. So when I did the Southwest show in Bristol, the show just disappeared because I was constantly like this all day. And I suppose the same with those COVID London ones that we had virtually. You might remember that. There's a stream which was like, I forget how many hours it was. It was ridiculous. It's like, I want to say 24 hours, but it can't have been that long. But there was a live stream that I did that was stupidly long. It's the longest there was ever on the channel. But that was actually done from here. It was in another room, but it was done from here. And it was all like rebroadcasting, basically a Zoom. Yes, it was Zoom. It wasn't Teams. It was a Zoom conversation of the S3 London show. And I just kind of like interjected with links, a bit like a bad Eurovision broadcast. Yeah, so hopefully that answers the question. But you know what you must do is you must buy a ticket and come along in person. That's the way you can see it live. Right. Oh, I'm so much happier with a cup of tea. I had one beer last week, and then by the end of the live stream, just seriously, it was one beer, nothing else, and I was just like, I really wish I hadn't had that beer. Everything just went to pot, and I couldn't think straight. Anyway, right. George just saying love to. Some genealogy stuff to do in the UK. You outside the UK, George? Do I know you're outside the UK? And Andrew saying, hopefully this time it comes off. This was related to my house. Yes, hopefully it will. We've got a slightly better, I think it's a slightly better house, slightly nicer area for, where are we? £4,000 less than the other one. So we've actually got it a little bit cheaper. Are you in the US, George? Did I know that? Do you know what? I beg your pardon, George. I might have already known that and I've forgotten. You started at 3 p.m. Yes. 8 till 8 at 3 p.m. in the US. Yeah, I forget. I kind of have a rough idea about where the regulars are on the live stream, where they are in the world. So that's a good point now if you're outside the UK. Yeah, but obviously the argument is from the museums is that if we live stream it, people won't come. And they do it to kind of, make money, if you know what I mean. So, well, Andrew's mad. 7 a.m. in the morning, and you're 7 a.m. in the morning, and you're listening to me. Seriously. Is breakfast telly in New Zealand that bad? No, we very much appreciate all your companies wherever you happen to be in the world, and obviously thank you so much for watching. George saying, I think some of my search would take me to Cornwall. I went to university in Cornwall. I lived there for 3 years. So I did my degree. It was in Cornwall. In, Falmouth University. I actually lived in Penryn, which was like 2 towns above. Well, Penryn and Falmouth kind of merged into each other. But yeah, I haven't been back since 2011 when I graduated, actually. So that tells you how much I thought about it at the time. Andrew, yes, the TV is that bad. Do you know what? I'll have that as a slogan. Wi-Fi sheep, no, bona fide better than television in New Zealand. Watch me get sued for that. But yeah. Right then. What we're doing this evening. Just quickly with Brian. Tickets for the LAN party. So you got a ticket, you're not defo attend. Well, you're coming down from Scotland, aren't you? But hopefully we'll make it. You're going to drive down from Scotland. Well, it's walking distance from Bletchley Park Station. It's on the West Coast Main Line. I mean, obviously it depends what works for you, Brian. If you're bringing kit down, that doesn't work. But if it's the drive that's the issue, I'm just trying to think. Does the overnight sleeper from, where's that go? Glasgow or Edinburgh? I can't remember. If there's an overnight sleeper train into London Euston, West Coast Main Line. I'm just trying to think, does it stop at Milton Keynes? Does it actually stop at Bletchley? I can't remember. There are trains right down Bletchley Park. The museum site is literally walking distance from Bletchley Park Railway Station, which is on the West Coast Main Line. So into London Euston. So that basically connecting Scotland straight through to London. So yeah, I don't know if you fancy the drive or not, but it depends, because I mean that'll be expensive. It'd be cheaper to drive, but I'll leave that with you, Brian. But it'd be great to see you if you can make it down. That'd be wonderful. I appreciate here in the UK a lot of the shows are happening in the south. I mean, I'm not in the south here, so okay. Well, tell a lie. Technically, I am. The argument about the whole north-south divide in the UK between what's the north and what's the south, and the north-south divide officially is Crewe, Cheshire. So I'm in Shropshire. So I'm like, if this is going to be backwards on the map, but if you got like Cheshire is there, and then Shropshire is like underneath, if you like. So we like bordered Cheshire like that. We've got Staffordshire, over to the west. So technically speaking, I'm just in the south, but some other people say the south kind of starts at Watford Gap, which is just at Gatwick, just outside London to north of London. So, and others say Bristol. So I shall leave that argument for another day. But right, anyway, we're getting distracted. So, which is good. I don't mind the chat, and thank you for everyone for contributing. So what I want to do is, you might remember a good few, it was months ago now, we were looking at, it was a data centre for BBC Micro. That I'd been donated, and we were trying to get it up and running, and we sort of got it working, but it was a bit jittery. Anyway, there was this data stick, and I took a copy of all the data on it, and one file that we found, and you'll have to excuse me a minute, one file that we found that I thought was very interesting was this blank file with nothing in it. Where's that gone? Great. This is what happens. I can't do a thing live on this because it always breaks. Why is that broke? Okay, I was going to show you some. Code, and now the Arduino IDE has just decided to randomly break. How annoying! Let's try that again. Apologies, but this is what happens when you try and live stream anything. Complaining about Stack Overflow. Right, are we back up yet? We're not even back up yet. So sorry. Right. Sorry about this. Let's try that again. Come on. Have you ever noticed, those who use Arduino IDE, have you ever noticed how slow it is? Anyway, I'll start my story again, I think. Apologies for that. Right, so you might remember we did a backup of, there was a data stick included with the stuff that was donated. We did a backup, and on the backup contained this folder and this Arduino sketch written in C for PS2 to quadrate you. I can't even pronounce that. Anyway, basically PS2 to AMX based mouse, which basically potentially allowed you to plug. It says here this code will turn a PS2 mouse for Archimedes or BBC Micro. Then boasts that no components are required, just PS2 socket and whatever connector the retro computer requires. So I'm a bit like, really? Okay. So I thought this evening, again, ready for something else not to work, but I thought this evening we could try this and see what happens. So again, apologies for the oh, right. Oh, there we go. We're back up now. Okay. So basically I thought that we could try this and see what happens. It's just stock Arduino code. So again, try and get that in there. There we go. So I thought, let's do a build. Let's see what happens. Because if I'm able to run PS2 mice as opposed to the ailing AMX vintage mice for the BBC Micro, and this code, if you're not running BBC Micro, this code or versions to code apparently can also work with things like Apple II, with the Apple II mouse card as well, apparently. Or I've seen variants of it that would. But we're going to try a build here just to see if this works this evening. So a live build is always asking for trouble. So I've got some parts around. I have. So just before I came on air, I grabbed some bits. So we'll try this on solderless breadboard. And I thought we'd try with a clone Arduino Nano. So that's Atmega 328P 8-bit architecture, AVR architecture. The same that we actually use pretty much for everything else we do, where we can. So it was used for the, but this particular board was used in Tiny Basic computers. We need the appropriate ribbon cable to connect between the mouse or the adapter board and the BBC Micro's user port. PS2 connector, so we need a PS2 to go from male to female, and then I've got a ton of male to male jumpers that we can use. Let me just grab my other, find it. There we are. Parts box. Trying to get organised slowly. So we just need one of these. I've got a few of these. These pre-soldered. They're quite good actually. PS2 connectors with the header. On the silk screen is actually the pin out, which makes life a lot easier, especially if we want to do a very quick, rapid prototyping, just to see if this actually works. So first thing to do is let's flash the code onto Okay, hopefully that might have fixed it. So yes, I think you can hear me. So apologies about that. Welcome back to 8 till late here on youtube.com/Wi-Fi sheep. Yeah, let's just see if the cameras are back. Yes, they are back. Right. Hi. Hello. Sorry about that. Thank you so much for those of you that have just hung on and waited there a moment. Yeah, basically, you know, every week I go on about don't do stuff with the or on the streaming PC because if it breaks, yeah, and I don't follow that rule. Another one of those cases. So I put in, I'll just go into overview for you. I put in this Nano into the streaming PC and was going to do Arduino stuff whilst it was live, and it just crashed the hub. Basically that PC I use, PC development board, x86 Windows development board, is quite heavily overloaded, if you know what I mean. So it's got a lot of stuff, sort of camera feeds, etc. So that's, and I think it just pushed it over the edge. So apologies. So what I have done is, you may notice that the picture has gone from here because I've just taken the Orange Pi. This is Orange Pi 800, Pi 400 all-in-one clone system. And basically I use this for development work. So if I'm not set up to do today's demonstration, I can be very quickly. So hopefully this has thrown everything out this evening. So again, please just bear with me a moment. Hopefully if we go to capture, okay, that is working. So we'll use this because if we break this, it won't bring the stream down basically. So, yeah. Basically, there's too much data going through the USB. It's, you know, I do need to think about a sort of slightly better solution longer term, but for now, it'll do. Okay, so again, apologies, just bear with me. Because I need to set myself up again. Okay, so let's do a quick search for, I need to find the file in question, which is PS2_2. I can't even pronounce this word. Quadrature. I don't even ask me how that works. Mouse V1. Really? Didn't find anything. You sure didn't find anything? I spelled that wrong. I spelled that wrong. Quad, yes. R-A-T. Mouse. See what that comes up with. Right. And you see what I was talking about earlier? If you just look back at the stream, so you'll see here that there's already talks about it working with the Apple II. There we are. So this is the particular one we're looking at. So the code I found from the backup from the data center came from this site, Dance with Ferrets. So this is actually the site in question. And it actually gives us the pinout we need. And it should give us the zip file, which is that file there. And I've got Teams on the streaming PC going nuts. Right. Please download. Why won't you download? I've had this actually, but it won't download this. Yes, allow. I want to download the files. And if I go to download, has it downloaded? Nope. It did this. There's something about this file it just doesn't like. Copy link address. Let's just try it on some sort of security setting. It's stopping. Let's just try on Firefox. We'll get this down as quickly as possible. Right. Download that file and stop messing about. Thank you. Right, that downloads. I don't know why it won't download in Google Chrome, but it won't for whatever reason. Right, there we go. Okay, so let's extract that file. And let's extract files. Don't leave it in the temp directory on a Ubuntu or Linux-based system, because from bitter experience, it disappears when you do a reboot. So let's just do that. Yeah. Extract the documents. Shouldn't take too long. Right, let's go back to File Manager. Okay, and there is the sketch file. Luckily, I have Arduino IDE loaded on here. So basically, I do all my Tiny Basic Computers and Project Rio development work on this particular machine, which is kind of why I do like the Orange Pi 800. Not sponsored, this one. I bought this one myself. Just, you might remember the video I did a couple of years ago when this little unit came out. And although not perfect, to be fair, it is still quite a nice machine to work with. And it's a good one for doing sort of development stuff like this, where if we do break it, yes, it's annoying, but we're not sort of breaking the PC or the live streaming machine. So while adding loads, because the Arduino IDE is slow on everything, so I think it's Java based. It's particularly slow on ARM based systems. But let's put that in, and then let's flash to this Nano. Okay. So that's the code, and you've got, it also comes with a separate PS2 library, which is interesting. Okay, so let's just make sure we can actually see, it's got the boards. Can see all the different development boards and libraries I've installed on this machine. So it's Arduino Nano, processor. Make sure you select, is this one the old bootloader or the new one? I think this one might be the new bootloader. It's found it on USB drive 0. If you're on Windows, this would be on a COM port. Get board info will give us data back. So yep, it sees it, which is fantastic. So let's do an upload, and let's just upload that to the board. And now you won't. Why won't you upload? Are you on the right COM port? Or is it an old bootloader? Okay, we'll try it with the old bootloader, just in case I'm wrong. Because if you're getting sync issues, that's normally the bootloader. It's definitely found it, because it's we're getting the response back. So yeah, okay, I know. Yes, fine. Let's go again. I am not having a good night tonight, people. Come on. Right, are we done? Right, I think we're done. I think it worked. So it was a bootloader issue. So some of these boards have the old bootloader on. So let's just make sure. It's only really the Nanos that do this, but make sure if you're running the Atmega 328P, you're actually running the correct. Is it better than last week? No, I think this is going downhill quite badly, George. And I'm fully sober as well. No, we'll be all right. Okay. So that's done. So that's just a stock code as written. So it'd be interesting to see how this works. So push the little project. It's actually quite good to have these little all-in-one project machines, especially if you just need something to flash C code to microcontrollers. Let's take that out then. Take that out of the way. Okay, so I have here a piece of solderless breadboard. We'll put the Nano. The Nano, by the way, you can see has already got the legs soldered on. You can get these without legs and stuff, but there we go. You have to do the soldering yourself. So that's now in. Okay, so if we now go back to, let me just show you here on the website. So it gives you the pinout. So basically it's showing us the pinout between PS2, the old IBM PS2 keyboard mouse standard, and the pins that would need to be connected to the BBC Micro user port. So X1, X2, Y1, Y2, left, middle, right, etc., etc. So PS2 side shouldn't be too difficult to do. Don't know if we've... No, video split isn't set. I haven't set video split up, which is not good. And you don't want to see me, you want to see camera 2. There we go. Right. So, apologies, the aspect ratio is a bit out, but you get the gist. Okay, so basically we've got the board, you've got the demonstration, or the schematic, if you like. So with these, it's not too difficult to do. It's just a case of, let's get the PS2 port sorted. So we've got the jumpers. On the basically these pre-soldered units, you've actually got a male pinhead on the back, and on the tilt screen it actually says what things are. Apologies, that's a little bit out of focus. Let's see if I can focus that in so you can see what I'm looking at. There we go. Okay. So PS2, you've got 5 volts, ground, data, and clock. You can't really do much damage as long as you get your data and clock the right way around. Sorry, not data and clock. Voltage, ground, and voltage. Data and clock, if they're the wrong way around, that doesn't so much matter. So let's go white for 5 volts. Ideally, you'd want red, but I'll go white, 5 volts. Purple will be ground. Blue, data. And green will be clock. Okay, so on the board, just go back to our there we go, split screen. So pin 1, which is data, needs to go to D5. Data, we said is blue. So we'll put that into 5 on the breadboard. Clock, which is D6, green. So clock goes to D6, which is next to it. So that's going to go like that. And then we simply have ground. Trying to untangle that. So voltage and ground, which we'll put up here onto the rail. And then if we grab a few jumpers, which I've got a few just up here, which we can use. So we want to jump. So we've got a ground rail and a voltage rail on each side. They're not actually linked together. So if we want to link together, we physically have to put a cable in there. A cable there. We do exactly the same here. And that just bridges both rails together. And then we want to, basically the Nano, now the board's going to be powered by the BBC Micro because it gives 5 volts and ground through the user port. So for this to work, what we want to do is want to tie the +5 port to the 5 volt rail, and we'll pull ground. Just one side of ground is enough. We'll pull ground to the ground rail, and remember we're jumping these back round up here, so that all works great. Okay, so that's that side done. Now we need to get the wiring working for the other side. Now this is crucial. We don't want to get this the wrong way around because this could damage the BBC Micro. Damaging this side's less of an issue because these are kind of disposable, but a BBC Micro sort of isn't disposable in this day and age, so we want to try and get this right if we can. That's the wrong one. Apologies. That's also the wrong one. where's me? There we are. Sorry, clicking random buttons now. Okay, so what we need to do is, let's just do another quick Google search for BBC micro user port pinout. See what we get. So look on images. Yeah, that's quite good. So this is for the other, there's a USB thing that you can already get. They're called Smalley Mouse 2, which is a USB version. It is a little adapter. It's actually Atmel based. So it kind of does the same thing as what we're doing with PS2, assuming this works. Works with a number of different systems, including Commodore and Atari. It does actually work with as well, which I think is quite interesting. Yeah, so if we scroll down, here's the pinout. So this is the BBC micro user port for AMX mouse, and this is the pinout we want to basically copy. The thing to remember is with this pinout is that it's not from looking at the port, it's actually that way round, and also with the notch here at the bottom, so it's that way round facing, if that makes sense. So it's, if we did that back to front, it has to be that way round to work. Okay, so I've got jumper wires here, and what we should be able to do now is we'll color code this for make sure we know what we're doing. So we'll take a single 5-volt line, again making sure we are the right way around. So 5 volt I'm going to put into there. Single ground line, again black for ground. I'll put ground right the other side there. Okay, and let's put these on. So we'll put 5 volts and ground into our board. Now then, X1 is on 2, so I'll use yellow for X1. So making sure we're the right way around again. So that's going to go on pin 2 at the top here. And let's just go back to X1 is D11. So that goes into D11. There we are. Now my mouse is scrolling of its own accord. I cannot win tonight, people. Right, stay. Okay. And then we've got X2. So let's go back to our other. X2 is there on 6. So if we are that way around, X2. Do we want X2? Actually, Y1, apologies. Y1 is the next. So that goes right next to it on the connector. So I'm just pushing these into the connector, but again, just making sure I'm the right way around. Yep. And that wants to go to D12. So D11, D12, which is there. We'll use blue now. So X2 probably is next on the pinout. Oops, wrong one. It is. So it's 6. So it goes next. So this is X2. X2, D10. It probably won't matter a huge amount if we've made a slight cuckoo, or, you know, with the what should I say, Gocart really, with the pinouts. But obviously we just get the voltages the right way around, because that would, if we put 5 volts on ground or vice versa, that breaks things. So Y2 is, now need to check this. So Y2 jumps along one. and goes in into 10. And on the Arduino, D13, which is right around the other side of the board, just here. So let's put that in. Okay. Then we got the buttons. Left, which is D9. Left button is 16, so we count 3 back from the other side. So again, just make sure I've got my polarity the right way around. Yep, and we want to count 3 back. 1, 2, 3. So that's left mouse button. George just asking, is the middle mouse button functionality? Yeah, so it's, yes. Basically, so back in the 80s, someone will correct me if I'm wrong here, but British computers that first had mice, especially Acorn systems, relied heavily on the middle button. The middle button actually did more, it did the equivalent of what the right button does on your sort of 2-button PC. So as you probably already know, Macintosh, when it came out, had 1 button. The BBC Micro's AMX system had 3 buttons, which was then carried on into the Archimedes and RISC OS. So yes, the 3-button systems were very much used in 80s systems, especially here in the UK with the Acorn-based systems. So left button to D9. D5, where are we? D9. I think the rest is quite self-explanatory. So D8 is middle. So if you've seen my RISC OS series, we were playing with it the other week with the RISC PC rebuild. RISC OS still requires, unless you swap it out in the setup, well, you have to write a little patch to do it. Still requires middle mouse button. So on the modern mice, such as here, you actually, the scroll wheel, which you probably know, clicks, and you have to use that as the middle button, even on a Raspberry Pi system, if it's a British OS like RISC OS, because it's still got that, how can I put it, non-standard sort of British quirks that basically were the things that we did that no one else did. If you think about it, most modern computing systems are based on American ideas and architecture, so that of IBM, Microsoft, and Apple, more or less, you know, I mean, in Linux is American, as you probably already know. So basically, the entire computing world that we use today is pretty much based on those adopted standards from the US. And we're talking of a time just before that, in the 80s, where we here were doing things a tiny bit different that were out of, you know, were non-standard. And yeah, but obviously, you know, as time's moved on, we've all standardized pretty much on the same way of doing things, unless you do retro stuff, and then it's like we're right back to these kind of what are weird, quirky things, if you know what I mean. Anyway, right, so let's just double check that I've got that the right way. So facing, which is that way around. Really, the one I'm worried about is obviously just it's the base. So 5 volts, ground, 1, 2, 3, yeah. Yeah, so it's just want to make sure ground and 5 volts are right around. So, okay, so that's actually in. Excellent. So, I sort of wonder if we can keep this on. Hot swapping is never a good idea. Yeah, basically, RISC OS and Acorn BBC Micros are what happens when your country or your country's school system doesn't have Apple or Apple IIs. But you know, is a I can't speak now. Rich Western country that can afford to do things. You end up with sort of homegrown stuff. I'm not saying it's any better or it's right. I'm just saying it was a different place and we had different stuff at that time. But yes, obviously, I mean, I grew up as an Apple user, pretty much. It's BBC Micros. I've said this a million times before. It's BBC Micros we had at school, and then the first sort of computer we had at home. We're going right back to the beginning of the 90s, possibly 89 even. Was my father's Apple Macintosh. It was rare for anyone to be using Apple stuff in this country at that time, because my father was a designer. That's what they used. They used the Macintosh. Oh, hello, good evening, K-Up. Crete, of all places. You've gone on holiday and you're washing me. Right. I might have to zoom out in a minute. But so we're going to try and keep that safe to one side. We'll use a BBC Model B this evening. I'm going to try and... I'm not... Oh, I need a bigger desk. Tell you what, when I move, we're having a bigger desk. No, I've just staggered back from the bar. Oh, okay. You've missed all the excitement tonight. We've already gone down once already. The stream didn't fail. The hardware here failed. So anyway, right. So let's pop BBC Micro in. So this is a BBC Micro Model B, and inside, just to show you quick. So 6502 processor. This one obviously I modified. So this is the ULA, which I put some heat sinks on just to try and stop it from cooking the video chip, basically. Just under, there's nothing on. I need to put the screws back in this machine. Just under here, you can just about see it. These are the EEPROMs. So operating system, basic, disk filing system, and most importantly on an EEPROM here is the AMX. That's the mouse drivers that we need for this to work. So yes, I know you're at Zap Live. Yeah, I saw your posts about that. Was it on Facebook, or I can't remember where I saw them, but I did see them. So get back. There we go. Right. So, okay. Lid back on. If you're not familiar with a BBC Micro, especially if you're outside the UK, there was a BBC Model B there too. I bet there was. I could well imagine they would be. So basically, if you're not familiar with the BBC Micro, was basically our Apple II equivalent machine. If you imagine a 6502 based machine, I always say halfway between, I think a fair thing to say is halfway between a Commodore 64 and an Apple II, then that's in the behaviour, capabilities, graphics output, that kind of thing. That's probably quite close to what a BBC Micro is if you've never used one. Anyway, right. I grew up with these. As you know, I have a fair few of them. On the underside of the machine are some connector expansion ports, tube interface, bus, printer, disk drive. We have power out for disk drive. And we also have the Acorn user port. And that's where we're going to plug in the other sides. This is where you plug your mice into. In my world, I always thought it made sense for the mice to go in the joystick port. The joystick port on these, by the way, is actually on the back of the machine. So, right, that's gone in there. That's gone there. Let's flip the machine back over. Let's just do a very quick power test just to make sure I'm not gone completely insane. And this is going to work. So, this should just source power straight from the BBC Micro. I just want to check I'm not shorting anything out. Just power on, and you can see it's powering up and the machine's happily powered up as well, so that's fantastic. Okay, just power the machine back down. I've got my, just off camera, just here, I've got my HDMI adapter, so SCART one end, RGB cable the other, because this one actually took the composite video out. Don't know why I did that, but for some reason this one I did, can't remember why. Anyway, that goes in there, so that should, he says, give you a picture. Let me plug It's the same HDMI lead that was being used for the Orange by 800 a minute ago. So let me just plug that in to see if we actually get a video output. Hopefully we'll get a video output on the... we turn it on, that might help. So we should get a video output very shortly from the converter box, he says. And we do. Excellent. So that's good going. Right. So that's in. Now we do need to load some software on this to test AMX. So we've got the ROM in. I think there is a way of doing it just on the ROM, but I cannot remember for the life of me how you do it. But don't think it matters too much. So let's just see what I've done with that. Here we go. So I do have one of these. You've seen it before. One of these Gotex set up for BBC Micro. So it's a floppy drive emulator that allows you to read BBC Micro disk images, or any disk image for that matter, compatible with your system, off USB stick. As far as the BB is concerned, it's just another disk drive. So there's no hardware modification to the machine. So we're just going to plug it in. See, here's the power, Molex type power connector. So we're just going to plug this in to the BBC Micro. Nice thing about BBC Micros is they didn't need drives with, basically they did their own floppy controller was inside the machine, if you had it fitted. So Intel floppy controller. So as long as you had the disk filing system, which is that one there, and you had the floppy controller, you didn't need. You could run a dumb floppy drive. You didn't actually need on like the Commodore. I think no, the Apple ones didn't, did they? But the Commodore ones had to have their own 6502 on board to run as almost like a standalone system. BBC Micros didn't. They could just run a dumb drive. So let's power back up, and hopefully, there we go. So you can see the AMX loads in. If I go C dot star C dot, the first disk image should be AMX desktop. So we're going to shift break. It always wants the date, and you can't give it too modern a date. You can't give it too old a date. Millennium Bug. So let's just give it the first of the first 1988, and it seems to like that date. No backup or CMOS in these things. So 0000, right. Now, if you remember my Going GUI series, you will have already seen AMX Desk. It's basically a sort of slightly bad copycat of the Apple GUI. It came out around the sort of very same time, at 85. Yeah, George was saying too bad I can't patch it in software, but you can patch it. So the later BBC Micros have CMOS backup. There are ROMs for the OS that will patch it to clear the Millennium Bug. Stuff like this, I don't know if it's worth it, in all honesty. It's an interesting sort of play thing, but it's literally just it's not even a full OS. This is just it's worse than early Windows. It's just a graphical shell that sits on top, but it's quite good for just testing mice. Right, so talking of mice, let's find a mouse to play with. So I've got here, it's a laser-based Acer, but it's a proper PS2 mouse. So if we are going to blow something up, let's blow something up that's not that valuable. Now, PS2 is not hot swappable, so I'm just going to get this in. There we go. I've just plugged it in. Now, I'm just going to hit reset, and that will reset the code, so it should now see it. BBC Micro won't know what's happened to it, but we can actually force a reset on the actual machine itself. So, that's now lit up, so it's got power. And let's see if this works. Sort of, but I'm I'm really, we're not going anywhere. George is saying it's like mouse desk for Apple II. Yeah, it kind of is. This is AMX desk. It does exactly the same thing. I'm trying to go to. I am seriously. You have no idea how many. I am literally lifting. If we go back to split screen, I'll show you what's going on. So you can see I am literally lifting this mouse. Go on. We made it, and the buttons work. Come on. No, it's going backwards. It seems happy. Hang on, it seems happier. Okay, so I suppose the good news here is, people, this does actually work, but it's a bit... come on. Come on. Right. I'm not making this up. Seriously, I am struggling to get it to go on over. Go on. Go on. Oh, right. Down. Down. No. Come on. Down. System. Which I didn't want anyway. It's... Yeah, I don't know. Is it just this mouse? Okay. So, for the Risk PC rebuild project, I actually was looking for some suitable free button, because we need these to be free button, really, PS2 mice. And what I did find, I bought a couple actually off eBay, these are used, was this one, which is a nice IBM. It's a proper ball free buttoner, ball mouse. So we could always, now we know this is working, you know, and I don't mind so much if this is blown up, because I've got a few of these Acer ballless mice rolling around. Excuse the pun, that wasn't intentional. Let's try it with this mouse and just see what happens, see if it's any worse or any better. So again, PS2 is not hot swappable, so if we just hit the reset, we can reset. There we go. Right. Any better? Worse. I'm literally not going anywhere. Right. That's fun. Okay. I don't think it is a mouse problem. No, I think it's a code problem. I mean, it works, but I mean, don't get me wrong, AMX was never an amazing experience, but it was a damn sight better than that. So let's just try this one that I've had for a little while, which I know this one works very well. Let's just try it, just in case it's sort of a bit sensitive to things. And again, do a reset. No, it's absolutely the code. It's not. I mean, it's good that it does actually do something, and we're not frying the computer, we're not breaking the mouse, so it's obviously it's a code issue. So yeah, okay. Right, so what I think we're going to do is what about the hardware interface? Well, it's wired up correctly. I mean, that is working. I have a feeling it's the code. It just needs adjusting, perhaps, possibly. he says it's designed. It says for the Arduino, so it's designed for the 3 to 8P, which we're running with. Through the cable is correct. Voltage is correct. You did see it sort of working. I think it just needs some tweaking. So I think I need to make another brew, and we'll again jump back onto the Orange Pi, which is here, and let's make a couple of tweaks in the code, and let's see if we can try and dial it in a little bit. And if we can, then we've achieved something this evening, which is better than what we managed last week. So I would leave you with some pages from Night Owl, but unfortunately that isn't running at the minute. So I'm going to leave you with some music and a back soon card. We'll go and make a brew. Just give me 5 minutes, 10 minutes of your time, and we'll be right back. There we are. Welcome back. Sorry about that. Tea break over. Welcome back to 8 till 8 here on youtube.com/Wi-Fi sheep with me, Tom. And I'm not in frame there. There we go. Have I done there? Spilt some on myself. Never mind. Right. Excuse that. Tea. That's what. Ah, that's better. Anyway, right. Thanks for waiting. So, yes. While you were away, made a cup of tea, and I did a mad dash to go and put the chickens away because they've been out, and you know it's getting dark out there now, and I don't want to end up creating an impromptu animal version of KFC, which for foxes that can happen. And they will just sit there and go, please eat me in the dark. So, yeah, needed to put the chickens away. Right, so let's have a think about this. Okay, so we'll turn that off. There we go. And we'll leave the BBC Micro there. And we'll go from one all-in-one factor, or form factor, to, if I can get this to just come around here, to another all-in-one, which we'll just put on top for a minute. There we go, like that. Mouse just there. Okay, we need to make sure we've actually unplugged, just for safety. Just unplug the ribbon from underneath the machine. There we go. Put the machine back. This problem with this desk, I get so cramped and crowded so quickly. Right. Now then, if we so we've taken the HDMI out the adapter, we put the HDMI back into there, and with a little bit of luck, there we are. Right, we're back to where we were. Excellent. So I hate hot swapping stuff, but it does work. Right. Yeah. So let's have a think about this. Let's just go for the C code very quick. So I'm guessing that's the X and Y coordinates. Value logics. Reverse Y, reverse X, false. So what if I nearly hit the wrong return key. By the way, this is what I mean about again, I can't really push that in so you can see, but about quirky sort of standards for the BBC Micro that used the British QWERTY layout as opposed to the US. So, for example, the speech or quote marks, double quotes, are above the T, the two on a British keyboard, as opposed to the @ symbol being on the international US base. Also, you have sort of words like return as instead of enter. This one does say delete, but you have had things like this. Spectrum said rub out instead of delete. And also you'll notice that the arrow keys, cursor keys, are not in the sort of standard formation. That basically it's an IBM standard. I think it was IBM, was it Commodore? Anyway, one of them created the standard. Other than that, you see most things are kind of called the same thing and in roughly the same place. So we weren't too far away with standards. But anyway, right. That said, let's do a little bit of adjustment. So, what if we went UX equals divide. I'm just trying to put an offset in to make it more sensitive. 10, and do the same with UY. UY equals divide 10. Did the Spectrum keyboard have... I thought it had rub out. I swear to God, it... Hang on a minute. Sorry. We're going off topic here, but hang on. I swear to God it had... Hang on. Oh, God, it does have delete. So what am I thinking of then? What am I thinking of? Oh, that's going to drive... What? No, am I thinking of the... 81 or 80? ZX81 or ZX80? Possibly? Maybe I am. Apologies, maybe I am. One of them said rub out instead of delete, and it was definitely a Sinclair product. Oh well, there you are. So yeah, that's might be a project for another. I have an idea for this actually. That's a project for another day. Put that back on the back up on the display at the back. It's just amazing when you got all this stuff just to hand. Right. Okay, so let's plug. So we got that is definitely disconnected. The Sinclair QL had control left as delete. Do you know, never used any of the QL stuff. That was Motorola, wasn't it? Motorola driven, if I'm right. No, was it 6809 or was it 68,000? The QL. Someone will correct me. I can't remember what it was. It was one of the two. Right. Anyway, so we've made sure that's disconnected. Mouse is off as well. So let's plug USB back in. Z80 and 68,000. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, so it's very similar to Sega Mega Drive. Wasn't that the same? Because it used Z80 for the sound, didn't it? And then 68,000 for the graphics, gameplay, I think, from memory. Right, okay, so... Well, sorry, Sega Genesis, if you're from outside Europe. It was known as the Mega Drive here. Anyway, right. So hopefully that's seen the board again. So if we now just upload this piece of code... What don't you like that for? But you like... Hang on. Why don't you like that then? What have I done there? I've done a thing. ZX81 had rub out. Right, thank you. Okay, I said Spectrum. Sorry, apologies. I knew I'd seen it. I knew I'd seen it. So it was 81. It was on 81. Oh dear, George has asked me a question about Direct. That's a bad question. That's a bad question. For later, I have a question. I know you were involved and now no longer involved, but do you recommend RiskRest Direct? Yeah. Yeah, it still does what it... Yeah, of course, yeah, absolutely. It still does what it's a good setup, Direct. Just the problem with it now is because I'm not involved, it doesn't get updated as much as it should have done. But no, RiskRest Direct, if you just want a software bundle that works, the latest version has the... I haven't tried it, but the latest version has the slightly better... what's the word? Wi-Fi. Basically, RiskRest now has Wi-Fi for the first time ever. So, and there's two Wi-Fi stacks. The raw one, which is the stock RiskRest open one, isn't very good. The RiskRest RiskRest Development, which own RiskRest Direct, their version is a little bit better. Also, they include for free the Iris web browser, HTML5 WebKit enabled web browser. So yeah, I mean, and Direct has still got all the other bits of software and games and things that you've seen in my video series. So no, absolutely, it's well worth a look. absolutely well worth a look at. So just bear with me a moment, because I've gone slightly okay. Yeah. Oh, I see what I've done. Sorry, my bad. I see what I've done. So I think slight syntax error on my part. So the value equal 10. That should work. Okay, let's try just uploading that. Yeah, that's gone through okay. Okay, right, that's done. Excellent. So we take that out. Mouse is still off. Let's take that out. Remember, I do need to shut this machine down. Let's just pop that away. Take the mouse away with it. So it's just out the way for the moment, so we don't get tangled up in cables. Again, I'm so looking forward to having a larger space to work with. And I have a whole garage that I can set up in. So that's the other thing about being here, is it because we don't own here, we've always been a bit temporary, if you know what I mean. It's all sort of lashed together, and there's no point investing in more permanent infrastructure, such as the workshop or the studio, because, you know, it's like we're going to have to move at some point. We knew that. So anyway, right, so that's back in. Let's just make sure that that cable is back in for HDMI. There we go. Let's power back up. Does the new place mean more content for the Garden channel? Yes, I've been meaning to do so much for the Garden channel. I've actually shot a load of stuff at the end of last season and just never got around to updating it. But yes, no, absolutely. The plan is totally to do some more for Grow Up, the Garden Farm channel, because we're going to have brand new sites. So yes, this does have land attached, not a huge amount, but it does have land attached to it. So we can move the chickens. I can build what I want, have my own greenhouse, and actually start building and growing hopefully some more interesting crops. So yes, I know my poor garden channel's been neglected, unfortunately, but I'm so busy with stuff. But anyway, right, so yeah, no, I haven't forgotten about it. I know I keep saying I'll do stuff. I will absolutely do stuff. Yes, it's a small channel, Grow Up the Garden. Yeah. Garden Farm channel. And Kel asking me, Tom, are you really planning on going silent until end of year? Hang on a minute. Hang on, there's lots of questions. Let's just hang on. Right. Let's do this, and then I'll answer the questions if that's all right. So, okay, because otherwise we'll get horribly distracted and we'll run out of time. Okay, so let's try the... Got too many mice everywhere now. Let's just try the Acer mouse again. So Acer mouse, let's just see if that's any better. If it isn't, we might call it a day there. Right, so as before, shift brake, straight in. 31st, oops, 31st of the 1st, 2000 and, no, it won't like 2000, will it? 1999 is all it can go up to. Millennium Bug. And hours 000001. There you go. Okay, moment of truth. Let's see what this is like. Well, it's a little bit better. Come on, climb. Oh, I say better. It feels like it's inverted. Seriously, I'm not. Yeah, it's frustrating. Let's have a. I haven't got a lot of space to work with. I appreciate that, but I'm really trying to. Come on. I really haven't got any control of what's going on. I want it to go over here. Right, that's now going the opposite way to what I want. But it feels like it's inverted the wrong way. Because I've got control now. Yeah. That's up. I go very slowly. That's up. Down. Down. Not brilliant. Up. Yeah, it feels like it's the wrong way. It's inverted. That's very interesting. Very interesting. So, I just wonder if we swap blue, wasn't it? Let's just try turning blue. It's not a good idea to do this hot cable wise, but let's just be very, very careful. I'm not. Sort of working, but not, you know, how you'd use a mouse. Do you know what I mean? Just sort of like it doesn't quite. That's very strange behaviour. I'll just try popping hers back the way they were. I'd preferred things if they kind of, you know, if they say they're an adapter and it technically works, but it's not quite right. And I guess, you know, for a little bit of time. See, up and down isn't, well, it's not amazing, but it's not terrible if you're slow. That's not too bad. But yeah, that's completely inverted the wrong way. Let's just try that. That was with the ballless mouse. Let's just try that with the IBM, which is the one I intend to try and use this with. Let's just see how well that works. Right, this is now... Oh, hang on. Do a reset because it's not hot swappable. Okay, this is the ball mouse. Again. Is there an AMX mouse option for the Beeb that uses the analog port? No, I don't think there is. And for me, the analog port would make a damn sight more sense than going in the user port. So why, oh why, would a mouse options went for the user port? It's beyond me. So, I mean, this is kind of similar behaviour. That's on a rollerball mouse, so it's not... Try and open the drive if we can. Let's open the drive window. Oh, go on. It does work. I mean, I'll give you, it does work. It just, I think I need to try and tweak this a little bit. Yeah, this is the issue. Yeah, so the eMMC systems on the Beeb basically use the user port. So if you're trying to run off eMMC, which is the SD card interface, and you've tied your user port up, you can't use a mouse. That's why with this, I'm on Gocart floppy emulator. So I'm basically can run off USB stick with the disk images, and we're not tying up the user port, which means we can use it for mice. Frustrating, I know, but yeah, that's sort of, yeah, that's all right. No, it isn't. It's terrible, but it's. I think we're perhaps a little bit of tweaking and trying to sort this inversion issue out. I mean, you might get something that's actually usable. I definitely think if I get source code that works, this is definitely something I'll look at sharing my modified source code back out into the community again. Both, yeah, if you're saying you use it for both the BBC, yeah, both the BBC Model B and the BBC Masters. So this is the Model B, and you might remember a couple of weeks back we were looking at BBC Master, which is a slightly larger extended version with 128k of RAM. Which I'll be basically, if I got this system to work properly, I'll take it along with me for Bletchley, but I'm not sure. Not sure if it's reliable enough to demonstrate, but annoying if anything else. No, it's not. Yeah, it's not usable. Don't get me wrong. This is not usable. It's technically working, but it's yeah. Now we're stuck up there. Come on, down. It needs to be far more. I mean, AMX, the proper AMX mice were, you know, were terrible. For those of you that have actually used the original hardware, they were terrible. They were better than this. But, you know, it's a mixture of very early days of mice drivers trying to build something, or whatever, this program for AMX, trying to sort of mimic the Mac, because it's very Mac-esque, trying to mimic the Macintosh on an 8-bit system with only 32k. Remember, we're running this in 32k of RAM, which we share with a video display. Challenging. It's a game in itself. Click the button. Yeah. Yeah, it's all right. We'll get there. So yeah, I think we'll probably. I need to tweak it, but it means sort of shunting back and forth between the two computers, which is just going to be frustrating for everyone to watch. So we'll probably leave that there for this evening. So just to go on to answer a few questions that people were asking me. Yeah. So, am I really stopping until what was the exact wordage of that? Hang on, scroll back up. Are you really planning on going silent until the end of the year? Not silent. No, I'll still be doing Wi-Fi sheet content. Video content. Still got a lot of stuff I've shot. Obviously, there's some radio-based stuff I'd like to do for Channel 2, Wi-Fi Sheep Channel 2. And as we've already mentioned, Grow Up, the Garden Farm channel. I do need to do a little bit of update. I shot some stuff last year for that, which is now out of season, because obviously that was last summer, which I haven't edited or uploaded yet. So, no, I will be busy doing bits. But, I mean, fundamentally, we stopped the live streams. We always do well, I say British summer. I appreciate if you're, for those of you watching in the Southern Hemisphere, you're in winter at the moment. But no, basically the idea is that, the evenings, people, especially on the weekends, want to be out. I'm busier, at the moment. So I always traditionally, we don't live stream over the summer. Generally, this works better in the cold, dark winters when we're all just huddled inside. It's like, yeah, we'll do stuff. Whereas people want to be out in the evenings. So, and it's very, not that I don't enjoy doing it, but I'm so busy and so tired, and you get sort of car crashes like last week otherwise. So it's a good time to stop the week just before we go to Bletchley. Is a good time to sort of call it a day for season 3. Now I would generally be back at the end of November, but uniquely for this cycle, because we're going to be moving house, I need to basically dismantle all this at some point, relocate it to another property, potentially probably under green screen and temporary setup at first, and then move into, hopefully we'll have a whole garage to be bored out, make into a new workshop studio. So we'll have at least twice, if not 3 times the space as of this, which would be good. So, and then I hope to be back. So realistically, what I did say at the start of the live stream was probably might do a live Wi-Fi Sheep live stream ahead of Cambridge. Do like a one-off ahead of Cambridge. We'll do Christmas and New Year, regardless of where I am, if I'm set up and running or not. Christmas and New Year. And then a new series of 8 till 8, season 4. I'd plan of being back on this sort of format. Assuming people like this kind of format, be back on this kind of format. I'm going to say January, but I'll let you know what's going on. So if you follow me, especially if you're on Patreon or YouTube channel members, I generally post stuff like that, or do update videos that are like private, just for backers, if you like. But obviously just follow across social media at Wi-Fi Sheep on across Blue Sky, Mastodon, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and X as well for now. So that's kind of the plan. I do intend, and this is why we're trying to get the, where has it gone? It's disappeared on me. The R1 board running, because I did intend to try and get that running as a server, because I'd like to run a new 24-hour live stream service over on Wi-Fi Sheep Channel 2, which would be broadcasting an experimental slow scan television service. So it'd just be using the audio stream. So it'd be like a holding card picture in the live stream, and it would just be running an audio stream over the top of that, which would be broadcasting digital data for slow scan television. And the idea of broadcasting a 24-hour online slow scan television service under the banner of M6IDT, which is my radio call sign, on Wi-Fi Sheep Channel 2. I appreciate that's not quite the same as an in-person, it wouldn't be manned, it would be an automatic service. Basically doing nothing, it would be doing something very similar to what we do with Night Owl, with the pages of Night Owl that you see in Vision. In fact, I was talking with Martin about the possibility of actually, not Martin, why keep calling you Martin? Brian, sorry. Brian. I was talking to Brian about the idea of actually translating some of those images of the stills of the Night Owl and actually rebroadcasting those as slow scan images on for transmission over the air, sort of relatively locally to the UK, but also streaming it live on Channel 2. So that's kind of an idea. So just a couple more questions there. UK summer is like 2 months. Yeah, I know. Don't rub it in. I know. What videos you got planned for Channel 1? Yes, well, I keep saying I'm doing stuff and then I haven't edited it. So there's a whole 4 or 5 parts for the RISC PC rebuild project, which is shot, and that needs to be done. We've got the Commodore VC64 Maxi power rebuild because mine's broke its power supply, or I say power supply. It's broke the socket, the USB micro USB, yes, micro USB socket on the C64 Maxi has broke, and you might remember we did a bodge to get that working for last November's Retro Festival. I'd like to do a more permanent USB-C fix to try and fix that on the machine. And yeah, so that's coming up. A few other sort of project ideas, things I want to do. I keep promising we'd do this, and I don't get around to it. Which is Gert Morn. I keep pronouncing his name wrong. As you all know, I get everyone's name wrong, and I'm so sorry about that. But anyway, sent me some PCBs he had ordered for a Kim 1 Uno clone, and I really want to get one of those machines built because it's a fantastic thing, and it flows very nicely into the Tiny Basic Computers Project Rio system. Similar architecture, but it emulates a 6502 base, and then it runs authentic 70s Kim 1 code over the top, which is very, very interesting. And I think it actually runs some Apple One compatibility as well, so that would be really, really cool to look at. Obviously, I've got a new build for a Project Rio system which I want to do, so there'll be more building of that system as well, with possibly a new version of Rio Shell, the graphical user interface I'm trying to develop for that platform. Again, that's not strictly speaking Arduino, but it's definitely AVR based. So that's coming up on Channel 2. Channel 2 will be my sort of ham radio shortwave experiments, building a slow scan receiver. You might remember I showed you the bits that I'm trying to think now. Yeah, I showed you the bits that I bought for that. So I'm going to have a go at building a slow scan television receiver using a Pico. A couple of other bits like that going on. Projects long term for me. I do want to start a BBS at some point, a simple teletext sort of based BBS system. I need to sort out my website, wifi-shoot.co.uk, because it's not good. It hasn't been updated in a while, and I want to kind of rebuild how that works. So to do a bit more with it. So that'll be coming up. I'm just looking here in the chat. I'm just about to start a VBit2 journey to resurface teletext for the BBC Micro. Yeah, so the whole BBS teletext thing has been quite interesting, actually. Something I'd like to kind of, continue to develop. There's a few other sort of projects and things that are kind of in the background, on the back burner. Obviously, for those of you that are interested, Grow Up Garden Farm, that channel. So there's some chicken updates. We've kind of got a very small flock, so we've had to let the flock die down of natural causes at the moment, ahead of the move. But I've got plans for sort of crops and things I'd like to grow, stuff like that. So we've got that will be coming up, and of course the move, or the potential move, changes everything, and sort of leaves us from here to go and moving house is one thing, but having to move all the infrastructure and be sort of set up again in a new home, as you can appreciate, takes quite a lot of time. So that's kind of one of the reasons. But yeah, so we always take a break over the summer. So next week will be. I appreciate people saying you'll join me on Patreon if I carry on. I do intend to carry on. Just it takes quite a lot of time to do it every week. So we'll have a break from next week. So the 31st of May will be the final episode of this series. And I'll keep you updated. But as I said, there'll be plenty of pre-record content when I actually get around to doing projects. Also on Channel 2, there should be some Trains on 2 stuff as well. So some other railways I want to get on and do as well. So there's so much I want to do. I literally don't have enough hours in the day. That's the problem. So, but we're getting there slowly. So yeah, so that's pretty much what I've got that I can think of what I've got going on. Problem is I've got half a ton of projects I know I've started, and there's things I want to do. I'd like to do some, keeping on with the Kim 1 Uno theme. I've got some bits of plywood, scrap plywood, and I'd like to have a go at building some wooden cases that you can actually sort of put electronics inside and run with the little black and white CRT monitors that I've got. You can't see them, but they just hang in there. Sort of have like a sort of pseudo 70s looking computer system that runs code from sort of mid to late 1970s as exhibition pieces. So that'd be quite cool. Just something nice to have. I'd like to start having some nice things. Not that all this isn't nice, but you just end up with quite a lot of clutter in such a small space. So it would be quite nice to have machines, own builds, and also some preserved stuff like set up and on display that we can refer to and use. So yeah, that's kind of, what I'm thinking of going forward. This, on the other hand, I'm just trying to see if the mouse is as bad as I remember it. It's getting there. I just don't understand why we've inverted. Let's just reset. Try that again. No, we've definitely inverted. Strange. So that's the pinout's not right. It is sort of working, and the buttons work, so we are getting there. I don't think I'll dare try AMX Paint, because that would just be a disaster in this. It wouldn't work. Anyway, I think that'll be about it for tonight. So once again, thanks so much everyone for the questions and the comments. Really appreciate it, and again, really appreciate your company. Apologies, I just trip over everyone's name. I can't. The worst thing is, it's not just here online. It's like students. I've got like 500 odd students and staff and things to try and remember names for at work, and I just can't remember anybody's name. So everyone is just called Bill or Tom, and I said I'm done with it. What makes it worse is in the department staff. I'm one of 3 Toms in just our department alone. So the sort of common myth with students now is if you shout Tom, you'll get at least one of us will come running. If you know what I mean. Anyway, so we'll be back same time next week from 8 o'clock GMT +1. Once again, I'll leave you by saying thank you so much to the channel members. Sorry, George. I hope George is simple enough. It's all these Martins I can't cope with. Martin is a full name. Martin is a surname. It's just like, no, I can't. That's just confusing me. But we appreciate all the Martins that do support this channel. So thank you so much to each and every one of you that do so. Once again, just a reminder, you can join me on Patreon, patreon.com/Wi-Fi Sheep, where you also get first looks of all the new content that goes out good 24 hours before it goes live on the channel. YouTube channel members is your way you can support me if you want to stay right here on the platform. There are your details, 99p or up to $2.99, or you'll see that in your local currency or US dollars. It will translate to whatever the current rate is between US dollars and pound sterling. I'll plug it one more time. Show dates. So 7th and 8th of June will be at Econet Land Party. And Cambridge Retro Festival will be Saturday the 15th, Sunday the 16th of November. The time has just gone 10:15 here in the UK, GMT+1. That's it for 8 till 8 for this evening. We rescued it, didn't we? We got there in the end, so thanks everybody. Thanks so much for your company. You have a great evening, have a great week, and I'll see you same time, same place next week from 2000 hours GMT. Until then, may I wish you a happy and peaceful night wherever you are. Good night.